It's a very comprehensive introduction from Councillor Woodward, so there might be some duplication in my earlier slides. Apologies if you can bear with me as I take you through that. The idea is to introduce you to the revised application this evening. I'll try and take you through the differences between the withdrawn scheme, as we've recently just heard, and the current scheme, what the differences are. And then I'll try and take you through the layout as best I can on the screen. There are some plans at the back which you may have seen on the way in. And they, excuse me, I've got extracts in the slides, so hopefully we can help you understand exactly where some of the features are going to be. Bit of background, we touched on this a minute ago, so I won't repeat it all, but it goes back to 2014 when the application first came in. There's a number of issues in terms of policy constraints, and then some advice from our consultees, Highways and Ecology, we made reference to earlier, and the fact that the applicant since then, to early this year, late last year, was undertaking research into the various issues and objections that were raised. The application arrived with us, the new application, just before Christmas, and it's taken until the middle of this month, just around February still, to validate it. This slide's now a little bit out of date, having drafted it earlier this morning, with the application being withdrawn this afternoon for the original application. So the bottom point, the response awaited, was confirmed this afternoon as being withdrawn. As I said a minute ago, I'll try and take you through the differences between the two and how the new application differs from the now withdrawn scheme. So I'll go into or zoom into extracts of the plan in a bit more detail as we go through it. And I understand that this slide's perhaps not particularly easy to see from distance, but what you do have is on the left-hand side you have the old application now withdrawn, and on the right-hand side you have the new application. The difference is primarily being the reduction in the quantum of housing, the realignment of the bypass. If you can see the red dot on the screen, on the old application the bypass was following this route. It now picks up on the preferred route and the approved route by the County Council. There's some change to the west of the Oxley's Coppice with regards to the omission of some formal recreations and pitches in this area. You'll see there's a larger gap in this part of the site now, where we've got some reduction in the quantum of housing and open space. As a result of the realignment of the bypass, the football pitches, the formal sports provision moves to the north side of the bypass, so they don't have to worry about people potentially crossing the bypass to get to their recreational provision. And then within the centre itself, there's some reconfigurations. You heard of the different uses, which specifically where the school is proposed to be located. There's now a care home included, excuse me, small retail provision as well. So this takes you through the various issues I've just summarised on the screen, where we've got the reduction in number of houses. That's probably the main headline to do with the application. The west of Oxley's Coppice, that's that formal recreation that I mentioned not being included and being redesigned elsewhere on the scheme. The playing field is now on the north side of the bypass, and the reconfiguration of the uses trying to bring it closer to the Bishopsfield Road, Longfield Avenue junction. The application site now also includes some improvements to Longfield Avenue and Bishopsfield Road. There's proposed enhancements with additional planting, different surfaces, different crossing points and street furniture to try and improve the environment as you move from the existing southern edge of Fareham through into the new development. And part of that is to create a high street to try and promote a bit more of an identity and a welcome entrance feature to the development, and also to try and promote some pedestrian priority linking the proposed school, doctor's surgery, retail units to the existing community facilities and Broadlaw Hall. I mentioned that the route of the bypass has been changed from the withdrawn scheme to now aligned with the County Council's permitted scheme. It generally aligns with the County Council scheme insofar as the east to west, and then as it turns southwards away from the site, as you get to the southern end of the bypass opposite Daedalus, there's a slight difference in terms of its alignment as you approach Gosport Road compared to the permitted county scheme. The number of access points to the bypass is reduced now. It was 3 on the withdrawn scheme, and it's down to 1 on the current proposal before us, so less vehicle turning movements onto a new road, given the bypass's purpose. And the scheme it submits and we're working on the detail and looking through the detail. There's a substantial amount of supporting information, but it's suggested it's not dependent on the delivery of the whole of the bypass. You heard from Councillor Woodward that it's made an outline with just access and the principle for development being considered. So those other matters will be secured should it get a planning permission by future application and future approvals. So try and take you through the main consideration, which is that of access and the road implications. I mentioned a minute ago the application proposes to include part of the Stubbington bypass, and this is coming from Gosport Road in the south, up northwards, and then it heads west along the sort of southern edge of the proposed development towards Peak Lane, and that part is to be delivered as part of the application site and application proposal. It's the resultant western part of the bypass that's not included in the application site. Coming into the proposal itself, a new roundabout is proposed at the junction of Bishopsfield Road and Longford Avenue. I think there's a roundabout proposed on the withdrawn scheme, so that feature remains. I mentioned earlier the streetscape enhancements. There will be some additional surfacing, street furniture and improvements to that particular part of the development site. There's a new junction further to the west along Longfield Avenue. It's a simple T-junction opposite Dunstable Walk. And then as you head south back onto Peak Lane, there's a further additional roundabout junction. It's about 100 metres south of the existing roundabout with Longfield Avenue, a new roundabout which will go east and west into the two relevant pockets of development either side of Peak Lane. So taking you through those junctions now, I'll start in the west. This is the latter one that I mentioned. This is the Peak Lane roundabout. So this is the existing one with Longford Avenue, and coming about 100 metres south, you get another roundabout which goes into the western proposed parcel of development, and then into the right-hand side or the eastern side as well. The blue, I think it's blue-coloured triangle there. That's the simple T-junction, secondary access off of Longfield Avenue that I mentioned, which heads south into the site. And the primary one, over with the red dot on the right-hand side of the screen, is the new roundabout junction. And I'll take you through the numbering in a minute in terms of what these features are. But you'll see the red edge that extends up Bishopsfield Road, so that's where some of that street enhancement is going to take place. And the red edge, the application site, also sits on the north side of Longfield Avenue. So it provides for some streetscape enhancements to Longfield Avenue as well. So talking about the housing, that's said earlier, it's the main headline to do with the application proposal. There's 1,100 dwellings, of which 40% are proposed to be affordable. And you heard from Councillor Woodward the mix between 2 and 5 bedrooms. There's a fairly strong bias towards the 3-bedroom house in the middle of the list there in terms of the breakdown. And then the application again submits, it deals with all sort of spectrums of the community, from the larger 5-bedroom house to the smaller 2-bedroom apartments. As well as housing, there's a number of other amenities and facilities that the scheme offers. It offers a new doctor's surgery, and it describes it as flexible treatment rooms, which could include facilities for people like physiotherapists, travelling consultancies may be able to come and use the space. There's a 2.5 form entry primary school, public house and family restaurant, I think it's described as. There's some small retail space, a small parade of retail units, which again provides some flexibility on use. There's an 80-bed care home provision, and then various different types of open space, from more informal recreation, where you might walk in terms of grassland and parkland, to equipped play areas for children, and then the more formal pitches and courts. Some allotments are proposed, and the applicant includes in their open spaces the issue of drainage. There's sustainable urban drainage systems are proposed, which is a sequence of ponds and basins that will hold water at various times of the year, depending on the weather conditions. And that's also included as part of their green infrastructure. So looking at those numbers again, and back to where the facilities are, you can see as you come off of Longfield Avenue, that red dot again in the new roundabout, you come pretty much straight into the heart of those facilities. The doctor surgery sitting as you come in it will be on your right hand side as you enter the site, and opposite that on your left hand side will be the new school, and that's trying to link into the existing facilities to its north. Sitting just behind or just to the south of the doctor surgery is the new retail provision. And then as you drive further south towards sort of the middle of the development, almost the southern edge of the development, you've got the proposed care home, and then on the southern edge towards the open space and public pitches, you've got the new public house and restaurant. The allotments are now sitting in this location just to the east of Peak Lane. The bypass, as you can see, is running down here, and you can pick up on the application site red edge, which sort of crosses the bypass here between the numbers 8 and 7. And it's at this point to the west, the bypass isn't proposed as part of the application. But as you head down into the south, east into the south, that is within the application site. In terms of its delivery, the submission suggests that it will take about 7 years to build out in total. But ideally, the application submits they'd like to be on site in 2017 and will run through to 2023, with construction during most of that time. I think it's a little bit more than 7 years, short of 7 years. Oops, sorry. The phasing itself will start coming in off that new access point in the north, phase 1. So you get the health centre, the retail, the care home, some of the open space that it says on the top there. The headline is 170 dwellings in phase 1. The pinky area that sort of goes either side of phase 1 and extends up towards Bishopsfield Road is phase 2, which is where you get your townscape improvements along the roads. The school is provided in this location here. Some further open space provision and 225 dwellings. Phase 3 is the sort of the yellowy colour. I think it's this one here, and it extends down to the bypass running north to south. So you've got the 215 dwellings in this phase, some further open space, the public house appears, and also the bypass provision, which is dotted red, running down past the eastern side of Stubbington. Phase 4 is the eastern side of the development, sitting up against the boundary to HMS Collingwood. So you've got further open space, there's 14 pitches provision in this location, and also there's 260 dwellings. Phase 5 is the white one in the middle. I'm reading it out, but hopefully people at the back can, if they can't see it, I'm helping as best I can. 130 dwellings in phase 5 with further open space, and the allotment provision comes in phase 5. And then over to phase 6, the last phase, on the western side of Peak Lane, is 100 dwellings with further open space and formal recreation provision. Just go back to this slide if I can before I take you on. One thing that isn't clear in terms of numbering, but it is clear from the legend, and I said earlier this is an extract. You see there's some yellow dots dotted around the application site as well. Those are those equipped play areas for children's play. So that takes you through sort of one of the other parts of infrastructure. So the issues that you as residents will have to think about when you write to me, I've got to consider making a recommendation to the planning committee, and members will consider when they make their decision, is does the proposal comply with our development plan? We have a duty to undertake our decisions in accordance with the development plan, so that's the policies of our core strategy, our development sites and policies plan. And as you heard from Councillor Woodward, there's a general policy of restraint for new development in the countryside and development in the gap for the reasons that were outlined earlier. Other issues, amenity, that could be neighbouring amenity, how does it relate to your property? It could be visual amenity, how does it affect the landscape? How viable are the proposals? And sort of link to the next one in terms of its deliverability as well. The 40% affordable housing, for example, is caveated in the submission as being subject to viability, so we'll be looking at some detailed viability work in terms of how it's going to be delivered and when it'll be delivered. Are the mix of uses appropriate? So is the retail proposal in the right place? Is it right to have retail here? Is the school the right size? Is the doctors in the right place? Highways, I think, is probably quite a high matter. Maybe should be higher on the list. They're not in any list of priority or preference, but we'll look at the impact with our colleagues at the County Council as the Highway Authority with regards to on-site highway issues, but also off-site highway issues. So how does it affect the land around them, the junctions around them? There's a significant amount of modelling that's been undertaken in the submitted transport statement, and that will be looked at by the County Council. I mentioned earlier landscape and gap impact, so there's the sensitivity of visual amenity, There's ecological implications, not only for things that are living on the site, but the site is potentially used by birds, overwintering birds, I think, that use our sensitive coastline and special protection areas along the southern coast. Overwintering birds of international importance. They do come off the beach occasionally, and they could come and forage and use the application, so it's a bit uncertain in terms of their usage. Flood risk and drainage is something that will be looked at in detail. We're consulting with our colleagues at the Environment Agency and at the County Council, looking at flooding, looking at surface water drainage, looking at the drainage strategy, looking at foul waste and how is that to be dealt with as well. I mentioned the green and open space provision earlier, so is that adequate? Is there enough of it? Is it in the right place? Should we be using drainage areas as potential open space? And then other material considerations is sort of my mop-up of all the other matters that I might not have got in my bullet points, but thinking about government guidance, for example. It's difficult to get into too much detail because it's in outline with only the access to considerations you heard earlier. Finally, there's a quick canter through the proposal, but just to let you know when you can respond by, we're encouraging you to have a look at the application details online. We've got some drawings on the wall at the back of the room. We've got copies available in our offices in Fareham. When you go onto the website, it's easiest to search using the reference number, which hopefully will be on the letters that many of you have received. Site notices went up this morning as well, so there's orange site notices around the site for you to pick up further information on. My email address, so you can contact me. I had a number of letters this morning, and this afternoon as the day's gone on, and obviously our address at the civic offices. And